Sometimes, there's a silence you can't explain. No footsteps, no breath, and yet, you know something is there. That unfamiliar thought, hiding in the back of your mind, the presence you feel every night, though you don't remember inviting it. Real fear doesn't live in the dark. It lives in the echo within you, the one without a name. These stories aren't from the outside world. They come from inside you. And now, they want out. If you're ready, welcome to the true darkness. The ocean has always sustained itself and always will. In this vast, endless biome, life returns even long after death. That is the grim purpose behind what's known as a whale fall, the massive body of a fallen giant sinking to the ocean floor, feeding countless deep-sea creatures as it slowly rots away. Early last year, Dr. Anya Sharma, along with a team of marine biologists, spent 3 months studying a whale fall we called Leviathan. What caught our attention was that this massive carcass had settled in waters far shallower than what's typical for its kind. The prevailing theory was that some illness had driven the creature off its migration path, leading to its death. Instead of washing ashore, it now lay abandoned on the ocean floor, surrounded by countless organisms that would soon make a pilgrimage to feast upon its remains. During the first weeks of our study, everything proceeded as expected. The arrival of various species of sharks, crustaceans, worms, and seals was meticulously documented through our submarine and remotely operated vehicle ROV explorations. However, when we noticed that Leviathan's rate of decay had slowed and then seemingly stopped altogether, our team realized that something about the fall was changing. Something had changed, or maybe something had been wrong from the very beginning. It was such a slow, creeping realization that by the time we fully understood, it was already far too late to escape its grasp. The creatures that came to feed on the Leviathan no longer left its side. Their mouths stayed latched onto its body in a constant, unsettling way. Yet the carcass wasn't shrinking. It looked exactly as it had the day we first found it, a gaping hollow on its left side where the ribs gleamed, one eye torn away into an empty pit, the other still staring deep into the ocean, as if it could still see. This inexplicable stillness captivated us more and more with each passing day and filled us with a deep, growing unease. It must be some kind of parasite or disease, theorized my colleague, Dr. Kai Olsen. Whatever killed the whale is causing this new behavior in the scavengers. They're not actually eating the body, they're just pretending to, which is why there's far less decomposition than we'd expect. Another member of the team, Dr. Liam Thorne, snapped back in a harsh voice. It's more than that. The whale has grown. The rest of us laughed. We figured he'd been working too long, that his eyes were starting to play tricks on him. There's something hypnotic about the sea. Even when you're on land, just thinking about it can be enough. That was what drew me to this work in the first place. The allure of things that even the experts are only beginning to understand and maybe never fully will. Sometimes you lose yourself in that discovery. I've felt it before. I know. Liam insisted. I'm telling you, the whale has grown. About 30 centimeters, maybe not much, but undeniably bigger. And it shouldn't be. You don't have to take my word for it. Compare our latest footage with the first shots we took. He was right. And I can't exactly explain how we all missed it. We had all put the same amount of time and effort into the work. We should have noticed this change too. But maybe we did notice, but just didn't want to think about what the implications of that reality were, all that strangeness. Parasites, Kai said again, dissatisfied with himself. They're inflating the tissues, making it look like it's grown. Liam shook his head. No, that's not it. You can see none of the animals around the whale have died, not even lost any significant weight. And the little weight they've lost isn't from hunger, then what? I asked. I knew what he was going to say, but it was so impossible that I didn't want to say it myself, didn't want to suggest it as a possibility. The Leviathan is feeding off the animals attached to it, Liam said. Don't ask me how, but it is. That's not a whale, Kai insisted sharply. It's dead. Maybe something inside it is hunting the scavengers, but why do you think it's the whale itself? Liam couldn't answer that, but there was an undeniable determination in his eyes. I knew. We'll send the ROV down for a new tissue sample, I said. Then we can analyze it and see what's changed. What I meant was, prove who was right, but I didn't say it out loud. The rest of the team agreed this was the best approach, the least invasive, and the safest option for everyone. But Liam wasn't satisfied with that suggestion. I want to get closer, he said. I need to see what's happening for myself. So you want to take the submersible back down there? I asked. Sure, we can do that eventually, but the ROV will give us much more useful data. We can capture one of the smaller creatures feeding on the whale and test it for parasites or disease. Kai and Dr. Maya Sanchez nodded in agreement, but Liam had turned his head at a stubborn angle, a muscle in his jaw twitching violently. Look, I said. Our last discovery was just 2 weeks ago. I highly doubt anything noticeable to the naked eye has changed since then. Liam slammed his right hand down on a nearby table. We could dive to it, he said. The water's shallow enough. Not a good idea, Maya said. There are sharks and other predators feeding on the whale. If they feel threatened, they could turn on us. I mean, I've dived with sharks before, but I wouldn't recommend it here. They're unpredictable. Plus, we could disturb the other scavengers and disrupt the natural process. It could affect our findings. Liam stood up from his chair and started pacing around the lab, while Maya watched him with a thoughtful unease. No dives, I said firmly. If Kai's right, getting that close to the whale, even in protective gear, might not be truly safe. It's better to be cautious. You know that, as I watched the stubborn set of Liam's face loosen, a gnawing unease twisted in my gut. I couldn't understand why he was so fixated on the idea when he knew better. Fine, he said. No dive. He stormed out of the lab, letting the door slam shut behind him. Maya flinched and let out a shaky laugh. Wow, she said. What's gotten into him? He's obsessed, Kai said, curling his lip. He's barely taken a break since we started. Skipping meals. Not sleeping. Honestly, I don't think it's even about the project anymore. What do you mean? I asked. You're thinking mental health issues. Family problems? Kai shrugged. I don't know, but something's wrong. Last night, he was talking about the whale song we picked up on the last few dives, saying he thought it was connected to the fall, which, obviously, makes no sense. You should keep an eye on him, Anya. You know him better than we do, I sighed. I could hear the accusation in Kai's voice. This is your problem, not ours. If there was a problem, he would have told me, I said. Liam's not exactly the secretive type. I think it's just this project. How strange everything's been. I can't blame him for being a little rattled. I am too. If there's some kind of infectious disease or parasite down there, we'll have to bring in outside help. But that's not what he thinks, Kai said. You heard him. He thinks the whale is somehow still alive. You can't tell me that's a normal line of thought. He looked at me almost suspiciously, as if he believed I was helping cover something up. I'm sure he's just tired and a little paranoid, like the rest of us, I said. Let's just move on. We'll send Nautilus out in the next few days. Is that good with you?" Nautilus was our ROV, usually piloted by Kai, who had a background in engineering. "Works for me," he said, softening a little. "But remember, I'm not the problem, okay?" By midweek, we were aboard the research vessel Odyssey. From here, we would direct Nautilus toward the whale fall. The whole team was, as always, full of tension and excitement when standing at the edge of a discovery. I caught Kai shooting Liam a contemptuous glance on the control deck and gave him a quick shake of my head don't. I had pulled Kai aside earlier that day. "Get yourself together today. We'll be recording the dive, and there will be other crew members aboard to ensure everything goes smoothly. We don't want to make a bad impression. They already think we've gone a little crazy being isolated out here at the facility." Kai snorted and pulled his shoulder away from my hand. "Tell that to Liam, not me. He's the one who's going to make us look bad. He's still going on about the crazy theory, you know. I'll talk to him," I said, my temper flaring. "But you need to focus on your work, not this pointless conflict. You've had an issue with Liam for months, even before all this started, and I'm tired of it. Kai, remember what's important." For his part, Liam stayed quiet once the ship left the research station, and Nautilus was lowered into the water. He sat watching the control room monitors as the ROV's feed filled the screens, leaning forward with his chin resting on his fist as the massive whale Leviathan drifted into view. The animals were swarming around the feast, circling in wide arcs, claiming their spots on the body. "I still can't understand how they aren't starving," Maya said suddenly. "At least some of them should have died by now." "There must be some kind of symbiotic relationship," Kai guessed, gently turning Nautilus to the left. "The scavengers will survive until the parasites inside the whale drain them of all their nutrients. After that, they'll die, fall off, and be replaced by others drawn to the body. Think about it. It's a pretty clever hiding spot. Plenty of living food around." Kai was speaking with an arrogant confidence I couldn't believe. I could see his thin body's rigid posture, his left eyelid twitching randomly in intervals. He was just as lost in this as we were, but claiming he knew better, insisting that we were all fools for not understanding like him, seemed to comfort him. When we gathered around the monitors, we all fell silent. Nautilus's unhurried approach magnified the image of the whale's fall. Leviathan lay there in that feasting orgy like a drunken giant, its untouched eye that black alien orb seemingly inviting us to join in its banquet, staring straight at the camera. Some of the smaller creatures were starting to look visibly fragile, and it occurred to me that in the time we'd spent preparing for our adventure, whatever was inside the whale had begun to feed faster than before. Liam was muttering something I couldn't quite distinguish over the others' chatter in the room. "I'll try to get close enough to collect samples now," Kai said. "Maybe from 2 different spots, the remnants of flesh over the ribs, and the areas where the scavengers are currently swarming. They might give us different results." Liam flinched at that, but said nothing. I wondered what he was thinking. Did he really imagine that the whale had simply materialized on the ocean floor, that it was just a coincidence, or that it was some other creature, cleverly evolved to resemble a whale? Liam had always harbored an admiration for the unexplored corners of the sea, for the things lurking in trenches so deep that no diver or vessel could reach them without being crushed by the incredible pressure. When we were still rookies working together, he used to dream of encountering one of the ancient beings depicted in sailors' mythologies of being the first to lay eyes on them in the modern world, thus proving their existence. It was probably this long-nurtured fantasy that now led him to see Leviathan as such a creature. If that was truly what he believed, I watched him with a renewed fascination, trying to interpret his every slight movement or expression, and never fully understanding what I saw. On the monitors, Nautilus had extended its mechanical arms to collect the first flesh sample from the fall. Kai squinted in concentration, carefully retracting the sample back to the vehicle for storage. The scavengers around it stirred, as if aware of the uninvited guest. "They're curious," Maya whispered. "That's something." We all understood what she meant. We had shared the same unspoken fear the creatures wouldn't react to a stimulus at all, that they would merely be growths upon the flesh. But they weren't leaving the whale to follow the robot. They merely shifted alongside it, watching as it moved. "All right," Kai said. "Let's go again." After that, "Could you grab one of the crabs, just to check?" I suggested. "They're small enough to carry." The moment I said it, a pair of tiger sharks that had been circling the whale made a sharp turn toward Nautilus and attacked, tearing at the foam around its frame. "Stop moving it," I said. "Maybe they'll lose interest." Kai complied, but the sharks persisted. Their assault wasn't the idle curiosity of animals encountering something unfamiliar. It was an attack with clear intent to kill. "They're defending the whale," Liam said suddenly. "They know we're here. Leviathan knows." "Don't say that," Maya said. "That's nonsense." But I could tell she was nervous from the way she kept tugging the zipper of her jacket up and down. Her eyes tracked the other creatures surrounding the fall, as if she, like Liam, had started to interpret their activities. "Damn it," Kai said. "I need to pull Nautilus out of there. We'll have to come back another time, or we'll lose what we've already got." I watched tensely as the ROV pulled away from the whale's body. Only 1 out of 3 samples had been collected, its edges battered from the shark's attempts to tear it apart. My gaze was drawn again to the fallen Leviathan's eye, that black alien sphere that seemed paradoxically full of life, and I shuddered, forcing myself to look away. "Do you hear that?" Liam said into the silence. "Hear what?" Kai snapped. "I don't need distractions right now." Still, I saw the slight twitch of his head, as if he were turning his ear toward some faint sound in the air. Maya and Liam exchanged a look, and suddenly I saw them as joined, both tuned to the same sound. "What am I supposed to be listening for?" I asked, but then I heard it too, a faint but distinct whale song. Every face in the room registered the same recognition, and suddenly I understood that danger wondered how quickly we had all been drawn into Liam's madness. "Let's not overthink this," I said. "It's the same pod we've been seeing around for weeks. Kai? Status?" "Almost clear," he said. "Someone should tell the crew we want to head back to shore." Maya stood up, almost tripping over her chair. "I'll tell them." She looked like she couldn't stand to look at the monitors any longer, shielding her eyes with one hand as she hurried out of the room. Everyone else in the room, except Liam, let out a relieved breath when the screens finally went dark. Liam approached the glass, pressing his hand against it, as if he could still sense the whale from the surface. Kai turned to me, a storm on his face. I mouthed, "Don't. Not now." Once we were safely back at the facility, I pulled Liam aside and sat him down in one of the rooms. "Liam," I said, "what's going on? With all this stuff about the Leviathan, you're scaring everyone. You're putting ideas in people's heads that shouldn't be there." He shrugged, sullen and motionless. "I think Kai is right," I went on. "We need to contact disease control. Something contagious is coming from that whale. We've all been exposed to the samples, the nearby water, the air. We don't know how it's transmitted, but something is seriously wrong. Just not in the way you think. What you're saying, that the whale itself is alive and doing all this, that's impossible." "I wouldn't say that," Liam said. "We don't know enough to say there's no new organism in the sea. Who's to say this whale or this species that resembles it isn't mimicking a large food source to attract animals and provide itself with nourishment? There's not much evidence for that yet," I replied. "Still, it's a possibility, I guess. But the way you're talking about all this makes it sound like there's something else going on here. Something I don't know anyway. It's irrational. Liam shifted. Not necessarily, he said. I've had this gut feeling since everything started. Everyone does. They just don't want to accept it. I think the whale wants things to be part of it for more reasons than just feeding. Like lanternfish that come together during mating season when there are few mates. But instead of mating, the whale wants to expand itself. A single organism made of many things, growing and growing its own domain. And you think this is intentional? Instinctual, definitely. Intentional, maybe. Whales are smart. Whatever Leviathan is, why wouldn't it be the same? I closed my eyes, feeling all the sleep I'd lost throughout the project finally catching up to me. I don't know what's worse, the thought that the descent knows what it's doing, or that it's just doing it as a survival mechanism. Honestly, I don't even believe in this theory, I quickly added. I'm more inclined to think Kai's right. Just try not to get too hung up on it, or I swear you two will end up killing each other. I spent the next 4 days writing reports and drafting potential messages to be sent if an infection was indeed found in the whale remains. It was the other members of the team who were examining the sample we retrieved from the ocean, looking at it under the microscope and conducting as many tests and examinations as the small piece of meat could withstand. Meanwhile, Kai and Liam argued bitterly about their findings, like past lovers, while Maya timidly tried to mediate. I should have intervened. I don't know why I didn't. Since our last visit to Leviathan, I had fallen into a strange, sluggish melancholy. Whenever I had free time from work, I tended to take endless walks along the ragged shoreline beyond the facility. There, I listened to the song of the whales, which now seemed to be circling around us, or, if you believed Liam, the call of the one whale we had named Leviathan. I was yearning for something I couldn't describe, a loneliness that no longer satisfied me, especially now that my team had grown so close in ways I couldn't penetrate. But one early morning, when Kai shook me awake in my bed, I realized I missed the touch of another person's skin against mine. But not like this. I felt closer, more intimate. Liam and Maya are gone, Kai said. They took a boat and some diving equipment with them. They also took the sample. I slapped both of my cheeks hard to wake myself up. What? I said. For God's sake, why would they do something like that? Kai's eyes shifted guiltily to the side. There was a fight last night. The same thing we've been arguing about 4 days. The tissue we took from the whale, it was impossible. But our tests still showed it came from a living animal. I said it had to be a mistake, and Liam shouted that I was lying to myself and that I knew the same things he did. I don't remember most of what was said after that. We had been drinking. We pushed each other a little. Maya stepped in as usual. But then she was on his side, saying I needed to see everything now and stop fighting constantly. She said it so calmly, as if she were trying to understand me, but I was so angry that I told her to be quiet and went to bed. Then, this morning, they were both gone. Honestly, they're going to dive. Fear clogged my throat, and for a moment, I just looked around, wondering how my team had been driven into chaos in just a few days. Nautilus is still under repair, I said. We'll have to take the backup ROV with us. There's no way we can dive there ourselves, not even with a submarine. I guess this is how it is. We always got too close. After informing the relevant authorities about the thing we suspected, Kai, I, and a sleepy-eyed, bewildered group of sailors boarded the Odyssey for an emergency reconnaissance trip. Even taking this precaution felt dangerous to me, but I had to see with my own eyes what had happened to my team, to confirm the theory that was devouring us all like rot. We found the boat that Liam and Maya had stolen, on the right side of the area where Leviathan was, unmanned and clearly abandoned. The deck was dry, which indicated that none of the crew members had returned to the boat after their dive. "Idiots," Kai muttered, but his face was pale and trembling. They didn't have to sacrifice themselves for this, just to prove something. I placed a hand on his damp shoulder. The smell of his sweat was the same as the sea's scent. "I don't think they did it entirely for that," I said. "And I think you feel the same. You felt it, didn't you? That's something, that unexplained thing, calling you here, down below." Kai didn't answer, only stared at the empty boat drifting beside us. "You felt it," I said. "Just like I did. Just like they did. You were just trying to ignore it. They couldn't." I pulled Kai away from the water, afraid that one of us would succumb to the impulse of being thrown over the side of the ship to join our friends. "Let's go to the control room," I said. "Let's see what happened." A few curious crew members and I nervously watched Kai, who lowered the backup ROV into the depths with an unusual reluctance. The monitors filled with the black shape of the whale fall, then slowly the details of its shattered flesh and the creatures feeding on it. Liam and Maya were among those creatures. Their regulators had been torn off so they could sink their teeth into the whale's flesh. Their limbs were gently kicking in the water, signaling the impossible life inside them, despite there being no air left in their lungs. "God," said one of the sailors standing behind me. "What's happening?" "Get closer," I said to Kai. "I need to see their faces." He silently obeyed, maneuvering the ROV until Liam and Maya's eyes turned to the camera simultaneously. Each of them was blank, devoid of their natural character, but perhaps guided by a persistent vitality that didn't belong to them. As the ROV slowly spun, I saw the mouths of our lost crew members grow toward the flesh, feasting like the scavengers around them, merging with a massive Leviathan. They had all become one. The fallen Leviathan's single eye watched us retreat, and before the monitors shut off, I swear I saw it move. What happened next I can only vaguely describe, as Kai, the Odyssey crew, and I were immediately placed under emergency quarantine by government forces the moment our feet hit land. The area had been sealed off to the public, and a swarm of various air and sea vessels circled the crash site from a safe distance. I believe the whale was contained, and it will likely be destroyed once experts determine the ways to handle it without spreading any hypothetical infection. Liam and Maya are legally considered dead. One of the doctors in the solitary ward confessed this to me with a sense of pity, I think. I don't believe the government scientists understand what we discovered in the ocean, and maybe only those who are involved in the whale fall can truly comprehend it with real clarity. The experts only have enough information about its effects and contagion that they separated me and my colleagues far on a distant land to protect, isolate, and most importantly, to examine us, the few of us who touched the whale's influence and survived. I don't know how long they plan to keep us here, nor will my caretakers tell me. Maybe the whale, blown to the air with military explosives or surface to be burned, will be nothing more than an account hidden and kept from the public. I wonder, when this happens, will I know? Will I feel the end of my connection with the whale, or will my experience, like the aftereffects of the disease, continue? Will my mind and sense of self be permanently changed by it? I still hear the whale's song often. It's probably just a hallucination now, but it feels real enough to me. I wonder if the other survivors in separate rooms hear it like I do. The call to go down, the call to the water in my body and the salt in my blood. Even if I had tried like Kai, I don't know how much longer I could have resisted outside. Days, I think, no more. Even though I now know what would happen to me when I joined that flesh cult, I still can't stop myself from merging with the giant whale named Leviathan and its slaves, because in my death, or in my half-death life would continue through me, with all its beauty and terrible mystery. If you liked the video, subscribe, leave a comment. And remember, we'll meet again where the light fades.